Peter and James and John are called aside out of all the other disciples. They get to go with Jesus up the mountain. And what is it that they see? What is it that comes before their eyes on that day? I want to try and imagine it with you for a moment because it's a little bit crazy. The best Matthew can describe is, so he says his face was transfigured. Jesus doesn't look anything like what he looked before. It says his face shone like the sun. Have you ever tried to look straight into the sun? I don't recommend it. Please don't do it. Don't want any eye damage to our parishioners. It's too much. It's too bright for us. We can't look at it. Jesus was somehow that beautiful, that glorious, that majestic that they couldn't look upon him. It says that his clothes became white as the light. What does that even mean? White as light. I think they're just grasping at something that's beyond what we could actually perceive. But then at one moment, it says that Peter's saying to Jesus, "Oh, this is so wonderful for us to be here. There's something so beautiful and delightful about it." But at the next moment, he's like cowering and falling on his face because it's just too much to handle. This experience that they have is something powerful, something incredible, something that stirs them so deeply. But what about us? We miss out. We don't happen to have been Jesus' three favorite disciples. So do we miss out on seeing Jesus' glory, on having that witness of his glory that day? No. I want to tell you today that I believe Jesus wants to show himself to each one of us. Jesus wants to give us each some glimpse of who he truly is. Maybe not on the mountain in the exact same way that he did with Peter and James and John. Maybe not in the fullness of glory. Maybe it's more of his mercy or his goodness or his providence. But Jesus does want to show himself to each one of us. I believe this because this Christian faith that we profess, that we practice, it's not about some theological system. It's not about some cosmology. It's not about even some moral norms that we decide to practice, or even just a creed that we say that we believe in. It's about an encounter with a person. It's about an encounter with Jesus who shows himself to us. That's why we're here. That's why we call ourselves Christian. Our identity and mission as Christians comes from the encounter with Jesus, the vision of Jesus and who he is, the vision of Jesus and his glory and his goodness and his mercy and his beauty. The identity of the church, the mission that we all hold together comes from this encounter with Jesus and his glory. So I believe that Jesus wants to show himself to every single one of us, that he wants us all to have something of this glimpse that Peter and James and John got so clearly. And the instruction that the Father gives when they're seeing Jesus' glory is, he says, "Yes, this is my beloved Son. This is who he is. I love him." But he adds one more thing. He said the rest of it at the baptism. They already knew that. But he says one more thing. He says, listen to him. Listen to Jesus. So if we're to listen to Jesus, to follow him, God doesn't want us to just do it out of some sense of obligation, or somebody told me that there's this system called Christianity, so therefore I should follow it and live a good life or something. No, God wants us to follow this way of life because we want to follow Jesus. He wants us to listen to Jesus because we've met him, because we've encountered him and seen who he is. And this is what we hear when John proclaims the gospel. In the first letter of John, he begins, he says, "We declare to you what was from the beginning, what we have heard, what we have seen with our eyes, what we have touched and looked at." John is saying that this message of the good news that they're proclaiming is, it's not just a story of something that happened in the past, it's something tangible that they have experienced and that they're inviting us to experience. So this is what it means for us to be Christians. And you might hear this and some part of you might be saying, "Oh, but I haven't kind of really seen God's glory too much. Maybe I've seen a little bit of it. Maybe I've seen something to make me believe in Jesus." But I think we can fall into three boats, three different boats here. There's the boat of us who can clearly say that, yes, I have seen Jesus' glory. I have encountered Jesus and I know him, and that's why I listen to him. That's why I follow him. I'm very clear of that. There's perhaps some of us that say that, yes, I believe and I follow Jesus, but I do that even despite the fact that I don't really feel that I've seen him. I don't really feel like Jesus has shown me his glory in some tangible way. I just kind of follow because it seems to be a good thing, because I trust the others that follow, because of whatever other reasons. But then some of us perhaps don't believe in Jesus. We're not ready to listen to him, we're not ready to follow him because we haven't seen, and perhaps it might be an obstinate, well, I haven't seen, so I'm not following you, Jesus, or perhaps we're open to that. I would believe, I would follow you, Jesus, if you could show yourself to me. We each might stand in one of these different boats. But I think it's really important that Jesus wants to show himself to us. For another reason that we see in our readings today is that the grace of this encounter of Jesus in my life, the grace of the encounter of Jesus that's at work in your life, is not just for you. It's not just for you, but God wants to bless so many other people through your walk with him. If you encounter Jesus and listen to him and follow him, that it will bless so many other people. Yes, your friends, your family, those that you're in intimate contact with, those that you're ministering to or working with, but so many more people. We don't know how far the grace of God can go, and we hear this when God speaks into Abraham's life. In our first reading today, we hear that he's called him to kind of leave his old life behind and follow him to a crazy new place and somewhere that he's never been before. But he says that I will bless you and make your name so famous that it will be used as a blessing, and all the tribes of the earth shall bless themselves in you. So yes, God has reached out to Abraham to invite him into a relationship with him, to show himself to Abraham so Abraham would listen to him and follow him. But it's not only for Abraham's sake, it's for so many other people's sake. The grace of that encounter is going to flow out to so many more people. It flows out to every single one of us who are children of Abraham. So what do we do? Whether we feel like we have had this encounter with Jesus, we have seen him, or whether we haven't, what do we do with this? I just want to make this a little bit practical for us today of how can we respond in this moment. To the degree to which we have seen Jesus, we've encountered his glory or his goodness, or we've encountered something that makes us clear that, yes, I believe and I want to follow him. To the degree to which we have encountered him, we should remember that. Remember that sign, remember that moment, remember that word that he spoke so clearly into our lives. Remember that grace that he gave that made us know in some deep, mysterious place. We should remember that. We should stir it up and live from the grace of that moment. We can easily forget something like that. We go along, life's busy, we get distracted, we get discouraged by all sorts of things, but it's like, oh no, God has shown himself in my life. I have encountered Jesus, and even if we may not feel like we have any faith in that moment, we can literally just remember back to those times when we felt Jesus so close and when he showed himself to us, and it can be such a strength for us. Because this is why Jesus gives this experience to Peter and James and John. Because Jesus is walking from there towards the cross. And he knows that Peter and James and John are also going to follow him to the cross, almost. But he gives them this grace to encourage them and to strengthen them as they go. And so if God's given us that grace, he's given us some encounter that we can point to, let's remember it. Let's live from that encounter. Let's stir up that grace in our hearts. But to the degree to which we feel we haven't encountered Jesus, that he hasn't shown us his glory, or perhaps maybe he has, but it's a bit dry and stale and we feel like it's not encouraging us anymore, what should we do then? Perhaps we haven't encountered Jesus at all and it's like, yeah, I would, but I need you to show yourself to me. Well, Jesus says, ask. He says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. And yes, that doesn't mean that we can ask Jesus for absolutely everything and he's going to give it to us. But the good gift of encountering him and seeing his face, he wants to share that with us. So we should be confident in asking. Jesus, I want to see your face. Jesus, I want to know you. I want to be sure of who you are. I want to have that encouragement to be able to follow you. He tells us that he wants to give us good things. The Father wants to give us good things, and there's no greater gift that God can give us than an encounter with Jesus, a glimpse of Jesus' face and his glory that will carry us and encourage us. So let's ask. So if you want to pray with me in this moment, I invite you to, maybe you want to close your eyes. Maybe you want to open up your hands as a sign of the openness to God in this moment. Jesus, I want to see you. I want to know you. I want to see your face and I want to hear your voice. I need this strength and I need this encouragement to make it through the path that you call me on. I need this strength and this encouragement to trust in you even when it seems crazy. Jesus, help me remember those experiences I've had before, those encounters I've had with you. But show your face to me new today. Show me your glory, just as you blessed Peter and James and John with that vision on the mountaintop. Come and show yourself to me in my heart right now. Jesus, I want to see your face. I want to hear your voice. I want to know you because I want to listen to you and I want to believe in you and I want to follow you, Jesus. Show yourself to me.